Guten Abend und ein herzliches Willkommen an alle von uns hier bei The Simgrid. Nach dem Erfolg der ersten Veranstaltung sind wir zurück für eine weitere Ausgabe des German Cups, bei dem es einen Doppelsieg gab, dank der besten Maschinen aus Weissach. Für 75 Minuten fährte heute Abend 30 GT3 und 20 GT4 Rennwagen der vier deutschen Luxusmarken Audi, BMW, Mercedes-Benz und Porsche gegeneinander antreten. Außerdem ist ein Pflichtboxenstopp für alle Fahrer vorgeschrieben. Bei 4 möglichen Splits sind rund 200 Fahrer auf diesen fantastischen Strecken unterwegs. Aber wird Porsche seinen Stolz verteidigen können oder wird sich heute Abend jemand anders die Krone holen? Good evening and a very warm welcome to everyone from us here on the Simgrid. It's Alex Goldschmidt and Ewan O'Leary on commentary. Ewan a last-minute substitution for Andy McEwan this evening. So after the success of the very first German Cup, we're back for another instalment, which saw a double victory, courtesy of Weissach's finest machinery last time out. So tonight, a little bit of a caveat, a bit of a different spin on it. Over the course of a 75-minute race with a mandatory pit stop this evening, there's going to be some high-stakes racing. 30 GT3 and 20 GT4 race cars from the 4 top-tier luxury German car brands Audi, BMW, Mercedes-Benz and Porsche will again go into battle. There's also a mandatory pit stop for all drivers, and with 4 splits available, there are approximately 200 drivers racing at this fantastic circuit here in the Eifel region in Germany. But will Porsche be able to do it again, or will someone else take the crown this evening? Now, this particular circuit opened back in 1984 and in German known as the Corsa Preisstrecke Grand Prix course, had an exhibition race which was the 1984 Nurburgring Race of Champions, but it is a stalwart in terms of GT3 racing and GT4 racing, especially in the ADAC GT Masters. But Ewan, we have split categories. We also have very much a concertina effect waiting for us with 75 minutes of racing. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very much looking forward to getting things going here tonight, and looking forward to seeing which brand comes out on top this time. It's hard to see Porsche doing the double again, but maybe they will. We'll wait and find out, of course. But yeah, I think this circuit, the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit, obviously we've got the Nordschleife here as well, which is fantastic in its own right. However, this is a great circuit for racing. I mean, to drive, I guess, on paper, it does look a bit boring. It's kind of straight chicane, and all that kind. It just kind of repeats itself over and over again. Really, this circuit when you're driving out on your own, but it is quite nice and flowing. It's very good for racing, I think. Anyway, I've watched some fantastic races around here. I'm sure everybody at home has seen their fair share of fantastic racing around this circuit as well. And I think another one is going to be added to the list here tonight. It should be a fantastic race, and the multi-class element to this is also going to excite us greatly and give us a lot to talk about.
Well, without further ado, let's see how you wrestle both GT3 and GT4 machinery around the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit.
From Weissach to Affalterbach, we're on board the 889 Mercedes AMG GT3 with Alaric Enslin behind the wheel, heading down towards the Haughaken, pulling over 245 kilometers an hour in fifth gear, going into the braking zone for the Haughaken from 100 meters out, down to first gear at around 60 kph on the apex. Now up to second ever so briefly before hitting the brakes into the Mercedes arena. Now up to third gear before dropping down into first gear after putting the anchors on. And look at the amount of curb taken on the left before swinging the car towards the right hand side. Exiting out of the corner, now pulling up into third gear at over 180 kilometers an hour, before pulling fourth gear into the left-hander at Valvoline. Down to third gear at 145 on the apex, then into the right-hander at Ford. Second gear at 95 on the apex, before now pulling out from the corner itself and heading down towards the Dunlop hairpin, increasing the speed and the momentum of the car itself, pulling nearly 230 kilometers an hour in fourth before hitting the anchors once again down to first gear on the Dunlop hairpin. Now building the speed, commitment and momentum and the courage to get through the Michael Schumacher S's rather quickly, and pulls on the rev limiter, bouncing off it before hitting fourth in the middle of the Michael Schumacher S's. Now into the left-hander at Hankook, pulling nearly 230 in fourth, down to second gear at 123 on the speedometer. Then the right-hander at the Bidkurve. Before now you really start to wind this GT3 beast up to volume number 11, heading into Advan. Now pulling up into fourth gear, going through at over 225 kilometers an hour through Advan before pulling fifth. You then go into the NGK chicane, down from fifth to third at 160 kph, and then it's the Hyundai N-Kurve that is the last corner to circumnavigate on this nigh on 3.2 mile circuit, as now it's the run to the line here on the Mercedes AMG GT3. Now we're on board with Kevin Gilardoni in the Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 Club Sport here at the Nürburgring, just under 3.2 miles. We're on a hot lap on board this car, braking from around 210 kph down to 65 for the Haughaken. The braking was done at the 100 meter mark aboard there. Through into the Mercedes Arena, going shortly up to third before going back down to second, up to third again. Now into the tight left-hander that Nyon comes back on itself before you've got the right-hander here, and you're going to take these corners at around second gear, using as much curb as you dare on the right-hand side before pulling third, coming out of the corner. Now heading down towards the left-hander at Valvoline. Very close to the cones on the left-hand side was Kevin Gilardoni, taking Valvoline at third gear at 140. Now down to second for Ford. Now pulls third. Up to fourth gear on the Parabolica-esque straight up towards the Dunlop hairpin, down from fourth to second, 85 kilometers an hour on the apex, for running the car a little bit wide to the left to get the speed and momentum for the Michael Schumacher S's. Up into the left-hander, taken at fourth gear at 165 before putting down the power once again, trying to keep the car nice and straight as you accelerate and exit out of it at about 185. Down to Hankook, from fifth to third, 115 on the apex. Now into Bidkurve, once again dropping down on the brakes. Third gear, 120 kph. Now through into Advan, and you're going to pull fifth gear just before you hit the apex of this corner, around 210 kilometers per hour before the NGK chicane, and then we'll have one more corner to go down from 5th gear at 226, down to 3rd gear at 140 through the first part. Now it's the Hyundai N cover. You can see how much curb on the left-hand side Kevin Gillardon is using as he goes tight to the barriers out of the final turn and runs towards the line here at the Nurburgring.
Qualifying now officially underway for the second ever running of the German Cup here on the sim grid. And first up we have, as we did previously, GT4 machinery. Last time out, Tom Heyer actually took the win for Porsche in the Cayman 718 GT4, but then we've got Matheus Cagiella out in one of the two BMWs that we've got on the grid. Quite a lot of Porsche 718 Caymans, but at the moment, with about 9 minutes of the session to go for GT4s before the GT3s get released, it's Jan-Luca Gans in the number 12 that has actually got the top time. Christian Lozanov, who has switched from BMW to Audi this time around, rounds out the top two, just under 9/10 of a second adrift. And then we've got the number 43 of Ulrich, and then you've got Kirschbaum, Kazayek, and then Zicker rounding out the top six, all covered by just under 1.7 seconds. But it's all about momentum here, Ewan, as both Jan-Luca Gans and Felix Ruppert, two very familiar names here on the sim grid, are within 3.5 of each other.
Yeah, it's very close between those two at the moment, but the gap to the rest of the field is a little bit larger. You only have to go down to 4th place, or 5th place now, to find 1.4 seconds off the pace. We just saw Lars Kirschbaum go over the line in another one of those Porsche Caymans into 4th place. But the biggest takeaway I got from having those couple of onboard laps with the couple of drivers there in the GT3 and GT4 cars is how scary the Schumacher S looks. I'm really glad I'm not driving one of these cars through there, to be quite honest with you, Alex, because it does look really quite scary.
Yes, especially when it's in the GT3 machinery, and then we've got Ventislav Raichunov in the number 24 rounding out the top 10. We'll make that the top 11 as there have been some more positional changes. So at the moment it's Jan-Luca Gans, Felix Ruppert and Christian Lozanov. The top three last time out in the German Cup were Tom Heyer, Lozanov and also Nick Babin. So some very familiar names nowadays here on the sim grid itself. But Sebastian Handler, one of the Team Cake Posse, I'm sure that we'll probably see Josie Austin or maybe Alice from the team maybe cheering him on. He's currently down in 15th position. As you can see there, there's there's the number 13. That's Javier Ranz. Not yet having set a hot lap here so far, but it's a 15-minute qualifying session for GT4 and then 15 minutes for GT3. But Charlie Crossland in the number 11 has gone to within 51 thousandths of Jan-Luca Gans, and coupled with Felix Ruppert makes it an all Porsche top three. But Christian Lozanov still just only 9/10 of a second off of pole position with a 2-minute 3.918. I think the switch from BMW to Audi has actually served Lozanov well.
It looks like it, yeah. There's no doubt that he will have had to spent time getting adjusted to that car. You know, there'll be many maybe similarities, but a lot of differences between the couple of cars. And so, yeah, we'll see how he gets on in this session. Hopefully it's a good run out for him, but for Javier Ranz at the moment, it's looking pretty good. 16th place because he hasn't set a time right now, but he comes over the line. It's 5th place right now, 8/10 away, just in front of another one of the Porsches at the moment, with another one of the Audis coming over the line. Excuse me. This is Declan Bowler, 15th position for him at the moment. It is looking like Porsche are the strongest team car around this circuit just for the moment. 5 of the top 6 are Porsches, with an Audi just in there. Mercedes not too far away, but the BMW's down in 11th and 12th at the moment, not even inside the top 10. It looks like they are struggling ever so slightly, but we know that qualifying is a whole different ballgame to actually racing around here, so we'll just have to wait and see how they get on over 75 minutes rather than just 2 minutes as we have in this qualifying session over a lap distance.
Yeah, Sebastian Handler from Blue Cake Racing. Obviously a nice bit of chrome blue on that Porsche. He's currently down in 17th position. Lars Kirschbaum coming through Dunlop to head towards the Schumacher S's. And I think I did see one of the cars going very sideways. I think I saw Sichart actually going very much sideways, doing a Matthias Ekstrom going through the Schumacher S's, and that's not something you want to do in rear-wheel drive machinery. But Sebastian Handler comes out of the Coca-Cola corner and powers his way down towards the line. 8th position for the Austrian, 2 minute 4.329. As Kirschbaum now making his way down towards the right-hand kink here at Advan before the NGK chicane. And currently is 2/10 up, so this will put him ahead of Javier Rans in the number 13, who currently rounds out the top 5. But at the moment, it is 5 Porsches in the top 6, and then you add numbers 6 and 7 when it comes to the top 10, as Kirschbaum crosses the line and deposes Hans by just over 7/100ths of a second. Alexander Borodai in the 99 Porsche rounds out the top 13 behind Mateusz Kajela in the number 28 BMW. And even though the times of the BMWs and the Audis are not reflective of their race pace, as Borodai goes sideways through the chicane there, that's not what you want to do tonight, because we still have probably the best part of 3 minutes and 45 seconds to go in this qualifying session before the GT3s are released, as Jan-Luca Gans has gone sub 2 minute 3. He's gone a 2 minute 2.991. Charlie Crossland 87 thousandths behind. Then Daniel Kiefer in the 97 Audi rounds out the top 16, but still rather close here, Ewan, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we actually tuned into this qualifying session, I bet a few people were a little worried with the 8/10 margin that Jan-Luca Gans actually had over the rest of the field. But as we've been watching it, it's really been closing up. Admittedly, it has been other Porsche drivers getting involved. It's not like we have a really close manufacturer going on. You know, we don't have all 4 manufacturers within a 10th, but that would be a little bit ridiculous. We've got most of them inside of the top 10. The BMW is falling away a little bit right now, but we can't underestimate the time from Gans at the moment and how good that is, how difficult that's actually going to be to beat in this particular qualifying session, because we've only got just over 2.5 minutes to go. Really not long now, and if you're not on an outlap right now, then you kind of need to get out there and quickly nip around for one more attempt at this, because the time really is starting to run out. But there are certainly many candidates for actually taking this pole position here. I would say that the top 3 are the most likely. We'll see if Gans can actually hold on here, but you know, Charlie Crossland's not too far behind by any stretch of the imagination, less than a 10th of a second at the moment, although we are seeing Jan-Luca Gans out there at the moment. We'll see if this is going to be an improvement from him at the moment, or if he's going to set himself up and go for another one after this.
Yeah, he's oh, that was very wide, and that, yeah, you can see straight away, as soon as that happened, he's aborted that lap, and he's going to go around for another time. He's still got time to do it, because they'll be able to complete their laps, as Sichart very much sideways going through Valvoline into Ford before the run down to Dunlop. And that car looks to be, in NASCAR terms, very loose at the tail end. But we could see whether Sichart is at... Well, Sichart will be pushing just like everybody else in qualification. Kirschbaum might have just called it a day, as we've got 90 seconds for the GT4s remaining. So Gans leads from Crossland, Huppert, Lozanov, Handler, Kirschbaum, Hans, Käfer, Sichart, Gölz, Ulrich, Borodai, Kiazek, Kajiela, Raichinov, Andrews and Bowler, all rounding out, well, all covered by about 2.3 seconds at this particular moment, as Sichart now comes through the top, through the corner at Warsteiner, and then heads down towards Advan. And this is another corner that is rather scary here, Ewan. Judging by the hot laps we saw both on GT3 and GT4, you're literally pushing like crazy, and then it's a hard braking zone into the NGK chicane.
Yeah, certainly. We are using the fast part of the chicane, as you can see right now, and it does make things very scary towards the end of the lap. Lots of high-speed corners in the final sector. But Seagull right now, just coming through the final corner. What's the lap time going to be right at the very end of this session? Just 30 seconds remaining, and it is an improvement up to 9th place for the number 87 Porsche. And this is Declan Bowler at the moment in the number 95 Audi, trying to get up the order just a little bit. Gantz already in the pit lane, so he's done for the day. Remains to be seen whether Charlie Crossland or Felix Rupert can actually get anywhere near him. Well, they are near him right now, but can they actually overhaul him in this session? It remains to be seen. The time is about to run out, so no more lap times are going to be started after this one. Looks like Rupert just about got over the line to start a very final lap time, but as we're on board with Declan Bowler at the moment, did he get held up there a little bit? It looks like it might have done, getting held up, so maybe in a little bit of trouble there, the car in front of him, Andrews, the number 29, excuse me. Yeah, I'm afraid it is a very slight improvement, I think, but nothing really to shout about for Declan Bowler, and he looks like he's going to be starting the race from 17th position in the GT4 category.
Yeah, and now the fact that we are 30 seconds into the next part of qualifying, GT3 cars have been released from the pit lane, so it's all going to be a case of getting into the pits now. So that means that Jan-Luca Gantz will start GT4 in pole position for the 75-minute race, which will have a mandatory pit stop. Don't forget, we do have an affiliate link at the moment for ExpressVPN, which if you sign up for 12 months, courtesy of through the affiliate link, you can get a further 3 months free. Head to expressvpn.com/the-SimGrid. And it's one of the most well-recognised. It's an award-winning VPN system, which means that if you want to watch... but as we say that, Charlie Crossland is 3/10 up, so we could be seeing someone else go on pole position. And what does Charlie Crossland do? 2 minute 2.823. Thank you very much, says Charlie Crossland. So he will now exit the circuit, and now we'll have an opportunity to start the German Cup in a Porsche on pole position, deposing Jan-Luca Gantz at the dying throes as Daniel Kiefer rounds out the top 5. We're getting to the final throws of the GT4 action. Felix Ruppert from XL Racing by Rennwelten, who were in the fight for the Sprint Cup Season 3 that finished last week, well, at Suzuka. Well, he decides to pull to one side, and now we concentrate our efforts on the GT3s. Malcolm Humphrey in the Team Highlands Racing number 7 Audi, one of several Audis on this grid. According to the entry list given to us by the SimGrid Oracle, that is Mr. Michael Hamlet, Porsche has a bit of a meritocracy here with 14 911 GT3Rs, 10 Audis. Unfortunately, nul point if it was a Eurovision Song Contest for BMW, because there are no M6 GT3s on the grid. There are some Evo GT3 Mercedes on the grid, but there is one driver who is known in SimGrid folklore. Igor Ogorodnikov is the only driver that goes with the non-Evo version of the Mercedes AMG GT3. And, on cue, there he is. So we'll see how things go, and the temperature is starting to increase. Clear skies overhead, with sunshine forecasted over the next 30 minutes, with a track temperature at 7:18 in the morning of 17 degrees Celsius. Patrick Nage, another familiar here, but also we do have the defending German Cup champion returning, and that is one Yura Petrichenko, who won in a Porsche last time out and has decided to stick with the same machinery. Last time out it was Amir Hosseini who finished in the runner-up spot, followed by Jan Marcel Dietrich. So Yura Petrichenko will have quite a few other drivers looking to steal that GT3 crown, but we will have a new GT4 German Cup champion crowned tonight, as Maximilian Vollmuth goes in, already puts in a 1 minute 53.799 in the 91 Porsche. And we've got the 36 Porsche of Polt that has just gone across the line 2/10 slower. Then we've also got the number 14 of Kevin Scully in the Audi, running in the Belgian Audi Team WRT colours. And we've got Humphrey, Krasl, Petrichenko is going to start building speed, but on cue, Igor Ogorodnikov goes to within 0.2 of a second of Maximilian Volmuth. So the fight between Mercedes and Porsche, well and truly on. No BMWs to speak of. But at the minute, it is 3 Porsches in the top 4, with the Mercedes in 2nd position. And then 4 Audis from 5th to 8th. Then a further 2 Porsches, so 50% of that. Well, that was quickly 50% of the Porsches rounding out the, in the top 10, because now the Audis are starting to fight back. There's Luca Ziga in the 199, P7 at the moment, but Cipolla in the number 98, that's Ernesto Cipolla, goes quicker by 12 1/1000ths than Igor Ogorodnikov. And we have just over 9 minutes and 40 seconds to go. It's still anyone's guess, though, Ewan, whether Porsche is going to have the meritocracy or is Ingolstadt going to fire a curveball.
Yeah, it's really up for grabs this session at the moment in GT3. I mean, all 3 manufacturers, I say all 3. We haven't got any BMWs, so I guess it is all 3 for this particular evening. But Porsche, Audi, Mercedes looking at the first 3 spots on the grid, and they're all within 0.2 of a second, which is absolutely fantastic news for us. It means that all the cars are very, very well balanced, and we're bound to see a fantastic race between these 3 manufacturers. You know, it's a lot more scattered in terms of GT3. We saw in GT4 the Porsches were right up towards the 4, and they were pretty much dominating in the actual qualifying session there, but the same can't really be said for the GT3 category. It's really spread out, even though we have got more than half of the field running with Porsches here in both categories. You know, you wouldn't really think that looking at the top 10 right now. You know, we've got 4 Porsches in there, but you know, it's proportional to the amount that we have in the field, and I have to say Audi's doing a fantastic job. To say that they've only got 10 here, they've managed to get 4 of them in the side of the top 10. That is a good effort from those guys so far, but there's still 8.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. It's exceptionally close between all of these guys, and so we're expecting to see a lot of positional changes throughout the actual session. Here's Ollie Bull, by the way, coming through the final couple of corners, and this is the Coca-Cola curve, the very final one. Looks like he's 8 tenths up at the moment, and there's been a bit of a better time going on up front of the field, because all the time gaps have suddenly got a lot larger. It's Petrichenko, our German Cup reigning champion, with a 52.7, completely blowing the field out of the water at the moment, excuse me. But Ollie Bull putting in a very respectable time there himself, just 8.5 tenths down.
Yeah, so it's Weissach versus Ingolstadt on the front row at the moment, with 7 minutes and 43 seconds still to go. Maximilian Volmuth rounds out the top 3 just under 1.1 seconds as Alexander Polt puts the car sideways going through the Warsteiner curve. And looks like he's got Yuri Petrichenko just up ahead, who's giving him a nice little tow in that Porsche. Maximilian Volmuth now comes through the Coca-Cola corner. Currently P3, just under 1.1 seconds. And he's 3 tenths up at the moment as Bull goes into the pit lane. Volmuth goes quite literally 36 thousandths quicker. Alexander Polt rounding out the top 7, just fractionally behind Igor Ogorodnikov, goes across the line. P4 for the Austrian. So good run there. Patrick Nage making his way down into Valvoline and then into the right-hander at Ford. Currently P12, ahead of Kevin Scully by just 21 thousandths of a second. We thought things were going to be close in GT3, but not this close, especially when you look at Dominiak all the way down to Ziga, and that is 9th to 15th, and they are covered by a fraction under 0.2 of a second. That's how competitive these drivers are here in the German Cup this evening at the Nurburgring, with Alex Goldschmidt and Ewan O'Leary taking you through the action as it happens. Patrick Nage getting a good head of speed here, going through into the next left-hander, and that is coming through up towards Warsteiner through Michelin. Now he's got the run down to Advan, and this is where they're going to be fully committed, pulling 4th gear at over 200 kilometers an hour through the right-hand kink, and there. So 4 tenths up for Kevin Scully. The Italian crosses the line, goes P5. And that was with a 1 minute 53.916. That puts him just 0.18 behind Alexander Polt. Patrick Nage now making his way through the final corner, down in 13th at the moment. Will there be an improvement? We're about to find out. He's about half a second up. Goes P4, 1 minute 53.712. The times, they are changing. Igor Ogorodnikov down now in 9th position. The Lada Sport Rosneft driver running in the non-Evo Mercedes AMG GT3, which has slightly less torque. There's an Audi backwards, and I think that that was the number 32 car. That was Mullings in the Audi. Ogorodnikov, I think, might have just lost one of his 9 lives there. He was very, very lucky indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very easy for that car to roll back onto the racing line. There to be a quite monumental accident, really, with a couple of cars following very close behind. We commented earlier on how fast that section of the racetrack is, so you really don't want to be seeing those kind of incidents happening, but it nearly did happen there. David Keffer coming over the line at the moment, and that's 1.9 seconds off the pace for him at the moment. He's down in 20th, but what can Ogorodnikov do, coming over the line right now. He's inside the top 10 as things stand, but puts himself into second, just under 2 tenths down on Petrochenko. I feel like we're going to see a fantastic fight between those two unfold before our eyes here tonight. They're showing fantastic promise in qualifying, and there's no reason to suspect that that's going to tail off in the race.
Yes, exactly. Yuri Petrochenko, actually one of the first drivers I came across, and actually won the Silverstone British Classics when I made my SimGrid debut back in December of last year. He's now part of the Unicorns of Love stable, who had a one-off appearance in the Sprint Cup. They're also participating in the SimGrid VCO World Cup, which will have its 3rd round very, very soon for the 12 Hours of Donington. Ernesto Cipolla rounding out the top 10, 1.26 seconds off of Petrochenko. And if I'm completely honest here, Petrochenko and Ogorodnikov have gone into battle before, and sometimes it hasn't always been plain sailing. But in a very open and honest interview that he did with David Christie at one of the rounds for the Sprint Cup, Igor is always wanting to improve, and that's what this community is built for. It's built for helping people to learn by racing, but also learning by mistakes. If penalties do get issued during encounters that drivers will have out on track. Cipolla crosses the line, goes P7, just ahead of Kevin Scully. So that makes it 4 Audis in the top 10. So Porsche's meritocracy seems to be fading a little bit here, Ewan, as the number 27. That is Nicholas in the Porsche. Brings out the yellow flags, and of all the places, the Michael Schumacher S's.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the most difficult portions of the circuit. We'll see more incidents there, I am sure, throughout the evening. That's almost a certainty at this point, as Chris Zuga coming towards the line right now. He's coming out of the Coca-Cola curve, currently down in 16th position, about a second and a half down. He just marginally improved to 15th place, but interesting to note, only a couple of Mercedes in the top 10 at the moment. 4 Porsches, 4 Audis and 2 Mercedes, so I guess you could say they are a little bit underperforming, but there isn't many of them either, and Ogorodnikov has got that car into second place, although it is the non-Evo version, which is slightly strange to see the Evo version doing a little bit worse than its predecessor, really, but that's the way things have gone at the moment. I think that might be more down to the driving of Ogorodnikov, than anything else. But yeah, a lot of changing going on in the midfield right now, down from maybe 3rd place to 18th, 19th. You don't really see gaps more than a tenth of a second between the different cars, so you know it's going to be so close in this race, and traffic is probably going to split this race up. They're going to be running absolutely nose to tail until a bit of traffic that stumbles across them, and then things could really change. But a lot of times coming in at the moment, and a lot of positional change on the leaderboard as well.
Yeah, Humphrey's just gone up to P8. I've noticed that Marcos in the 100 Mercedes has actually been disqualified from qualification. That can sometimes be due to non-attendance of the driver's briefing. Luca Ziga all the way down in 18th position, 1.56 seconds off of the pace that has been set by Yuri Petrochenko in the number 26. Yellow flags briefly out, but Ziga could get a little bit of a tow here from the Porsche just up ahead. Looks to be Sam Stew in the 55. Azul, the number 25 Azuga, goes very, very much onto the dusty grass coming out of the end. Lucas Ziga 6/10 up at the moment. Where's he going to factor in? Goes P10 just behind Ernesto Cipolla. Wu Iljang coming through into the NGK chicane, as we've got another yellow flag that's out again. The 82, very fluorescent high-vis green there on the Porsche. That definitely means that you'll be able to see that in the deep of night. Couturier in the 222 goes P7. And Wu Iljang still remains in 25th position, but improves. 20 seconds to go in the session, and here is the number 64 of Spain's Guillem Exposito, running out the top 14, wrestling with the car, going through into the Mercedes complex. And it's been pretty interesting so far. So out of the top 10, Ewan, we've got 4 Porsches, 4 Audis and 2 Mercs. That's a pretty good, nearly a perfect even spread.
Yeah, it's very, very encouraging, certainly for us in this race, because the manufacturers are so well matched in this one. But I think a great time there from the number 91 of Volmouth there to get into third place. Yeah, there was quite a gulf in class really between second and third, but he's kind of bridging that gap at the moment, just under half a second down on the man we're on board with right now, Jura Petrochenko, who is still leading this session, and with his nearest rivals in the pit lane, you have to say, looking good to hold this one out right to the very end. He's got just under 2 cents of a margin right now, but he extends it with another lap time there, a 1 minute 52.4, and he looks very, very good for taking pole position right now, with nearly half a second of a gap on the field.
Oh, Yura Petrochenko has struck whilst the iron's hot, and made sure that everyone else behind him has got their work cut out for them. Pavel Dominiak actually running in the same livery used by the late Sabine Schmitz in the ADAC Nurburgring 24 Hours of Fricadelli Racing. Good to see that livery here tonight. Obviously, we lost Sabine earlier on this year, but she will be forever remembered. But Dominiak coming through the NGK chicane now into Coca-Cola, and is currently 2/10 up, so could actually bring the Fricadelli Racing Team car up into the top 10. Let's wait as the Porsche crosses the line. P9, nicely done there by Formignac. And but Petrochenko again, just really showcasing how quick that Porsche is. It might be the heaviest car with 1,340 kilos, but Yura Petrochenko makes that car work to his advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, taking it by nearly half a second to Egor Ogirodnikov in this session. Porsche and Mercedes on the front row, and then another couple of Porsches in behind. Maximilian Volmuth was in third place just there. So yeah, good qualifying session. Very close indeed. 3 manufacturers all up there inside the top 10. Unfortunately, no BMWs in the GT3 category, but certainly looking forward to seeing how they'll get on the GT4 category, and how those kind of qualifying times will develop into race pace times, because we know that racing is a totally different ball game to actually qualifying.
Yeah, very much the case. It's times for show, points to go, even though this is a one-off event, and we will find out whether Porsche will have both titles back in its grasp. It's looking pretty good with Petrochenko the way things are at the moment. Reference the outstanding pole position time that he set in that quick-fire 15-minute qualifying session. We still have 75 minutes of racing, 1 mandatory pit stop, and everyone's like going, how on God's green earth does Petrochenko manage to do a 52.4? Well, okay, Declan Bauer, thank you for that bit of information. Marcos in the 100 actually got a DQ for going out in the GT4 session. Whoops. Yeah. That's an unfortunate error, but the thing is that Marcos is now going to have to probably work his way through the GT4 field, and that's easier said than done, Ewan.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really quite the speed difference between these two categories of car really isn't that massive, really. We've seen about 10 seconds maybe between the top of GT3 and the top of GT4, but when you think about the tail of GT3 was about 2, 3, 4 seconds away from the pole. That's really not a big margin between the two classes. So that really could provide some problems in the race. I'm only expecting these cars to actually be lapped about 3 times in the race, maybe. So maybe a little bit more than that, but that's not very many, really, when you consider, like, when we have prototype racing versus GT racing elsewhere, you're lapping up those guys almost every 10 minutes in these races. But in GT3 versus GT4, maybe every half an hour, maybe 20 minutes for each version of lapping, I guess you could call it. So, that's really not a lot. And, when you have to consider people starting at the back of the GT4 field in GT3 cars, if they have to actually encounter that, then that just says it's going to be a long evening for you, doesn't it, really? Because when you get through, eventually you're going to be so far from back of the GT3 field that it's going to be a very, very, very difficult drive for you.
Yep, so we've got just over 3 minutes and 40 seconds before the full rolling lap formation lap gets underway. Just a little bit of information for you people at home watching. Big thank you, first of all, for joining us on the official SimGrid YouTube channel. Don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell. Coverage coming up, we've got the next round of the Endurance Cup Season 3 by Thrustmaster, the 6 hours of Monza this coming Saturday, and then we head into the month of June as well. So we'll have plenty more racing. We'll have more female races by Thrustmaster Rockets, who on the 7th of June will head to Kyalami. Then we'll have the next instalment of the Endurance Cup Season 3 by Thrustmaster, the 3 hours of Laguna Seca on June 12th. And then, towards the tail end of the month, well, round 3 of the SimGrid VCO World Cup will get underway officially with qualifying for the 12 hours of Donington Park on the 24th of June. And then we'll have the full 12-hour race on Saturday the 26th. Which will be once around the clock. We've also got, if you've not joined the Kyalami series, well, where have you been for the past few weeks? Because there's going to be quite a few races over the next few weeks, which will be Wednesdays, starting from early June until the 17th. So there'll be Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo action, Porsche 911 GT3 Cup action, 718 Caymans, Open GT3 with a custom BOP on the 17th of June, and the Lamborghini Super Trofeos kick things off on the 3rd of June. We can also take a brief moment just to say a big thank you, as always, to our partners here at the SimGrid, Coach Dave Academy, where you can get all your relevant setups for Assetto, Corsa, Competizione, get professional tuition from the likes of David Perel, Jordan Pepper, and Nick Foster, amongst others, and also to Thrustmaster. So if you fancy the opportunity of maybe getting yourself a controller or a new set of pedals, or maybe even, if your name's David Christie, a T300 RS, and he absolutely swears by it, and he loves his sim racing like a lot of you do out there, don't forget to also follow us on all social medias. Now, the grid looking rather interesting. So, the reigning defending German Cup champion, Yuri Petrichenko, will start on pole position in the number 26 Porsche, and will have the one, the only, Igor Ogorodnikov alongside in the number 41 Mercedes-Benz. It's an all Porsche Road 2 in GT3 with Maximilian Volmuth and Alexander Polt. Then it's all Audis on row 3. So Ingolstadt's finest will be represented by Ollie Bull in the 33 and Kevin Scully in the number 14. Then it's a Porsche Mercedes row 4. Florian Couturier and then also Patrick Nage. That's row 4. Rounding out the top 10, it's Pavel Dominiak and Malcolm Humphrey. Then it's Ernesto Cipolla and Luca Ziga. David Keffer and Sam Siu. Rounding out the top 15 is Spain's Guillem Exposito. Then follow that up with a further 2 Audis, Stefan Kraling and then Tyler Mullings. Then it's Dave Jr. from the United States and the number 10 Mercedes rounding out row 9. And then Chris Zuger and Hartwig Grasel rounds out the top 20. Max Erlinger and Jonathan Bentz, that's row 11. Row 12, it's Tom Nicholas and Alejandro, I don't know why that name's put on there twice, but who knows. Bu Iljang completes the 25 cars in GT3, whereas Marcos in the number 100 Mercedes will start right from the back of the grid for going out into GT4s, but then in the GT4 session. But Charlie Croston will lead the field in GT4s from 26th on the grid, ahead of Jannica Gantz, Felix Ruppert, Christian Ozanov, who finished second last time out, to Tom Haya, Daniel Käfer. We've got Sebastian Handler, Javier Rans, Lars Kirschbaum, Adrian Sichert, Dominik Gertz, Mateusz Kiazek, and then we've got Martin Ulrich, Alexander Borodaj, Mateusz Kajela, Ventislav Rajchinov, then we've got Daniel Andrews and Declan Bowler. And what's more, Ewan, the sunshine has hit the Eifel region.
Yeah, it has. We're seeing very nice conditions actually out there at the moment. You might not be able to have seen much of it because it is getting a little bit darker out there at the moment, but it's only 8:05 a.m. The sun is kind of rising at the moment. Yeah, we're seeing the sunshine on the circuit, which is going to be heating up the temperatures quite rapidly at this time of the morning. And yeah, we're going to be seeing what looks like a completely dry race for this one. And I don't think people are going to be particularly disappointed that it's so dry. You know, just wanting to get a nice dry race for once out here at the moment. Stark contrast to what we saw at the 24 Hours of Spa the other weekend, which was a complete washout, but fantastic conditions at the moment for racing. Really beautiful if you want to take a picture on the side of the road right now, because yeah, the lighting is just perfect, and we've got a perfect assembly of GT cars in front of us right now as well, with two perfectly poised classes. GT3, where I think it's going to be between Petrochenko and Ogorodnikov in this one, although someone could come from behind and surprise me a little bit. Although in GT4 it really is very open. I think a Porsche is going to take it in the slower category. However, in which one of them it's going to be, and I wouldn't really like to place any money anywhere, because this race can change so quickly. There's so many really class drivers on the grid, and so yeah, you really wouldn't want to bet against anyone.
Very, very true. Porsche looking to do the double again this time around. It was Petrichenko and Raya that won last time out, so Weissach looking to uphold honour, pride and glory here in Germany. But who could upset the apple cart? Well, we're going to find out over 75 minutes of racing. A mandatory pit stop for all competitors. And if you don't serve that pit stop, well, you're going to get a bit of a penalty later on when you cross the finish line. And that will hurt anyone's chances that decides not to do it. But on the pit stop, again, very, very crucial to not have a stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So very soon, as they start to line up in formation, it is going to be the GT3s that will kickstart things off. It is Petrichenko, Ogorodnikov, Wolmuth, Polt, Bull, Scully, Couturier, Dominiak, Nage and Humphrey. That is your top 10 in GT3. We head through the NGK chicane, and it's about who's going to get the jump into the Haughaken for the first time. Will it be Petrichenko or Ogorodnikov? And now the mind games truly begin. In the 2x2 formation we go, and it's about patience, it's about waiting and then burying the throttle when the green flag flies at the back of the field. So ladies and gentlemen, for the second time here at the Nurburgring, we wait and los geht's. It's green flag, we're off and away, and a great start once again from Petrichenko, but Ogorodnikov trying to go with him, trying to use the pure torque of that car as Scully's trying to get it around the outside of the 36. Oh, Scully was very, very brave and brazen. And that was on the number 36 car. That was Alexander Polt, who was trying to go around the outside of at the moment. But in the meantime, there's been absolute carnage behind. There's a swarm of GT4 cars. Mammoth accident there. And Ogorodnikov has already got past before we've even gotten out of the Mercedes arena. He's got the job done on Petrichenko, but Petrichenko already firing back as Wolmuth's coming under pressure. And that is from Scully in the number 14. So Alexander Polt now up into third position, and this is going to get rather dicey. It got rather dicey for the GT4s going into turn 1, you.
Yeah, it really did. Somebody got pushed onto the right-hand side on the grass, and you absolutely cannot stop from that point. It's very, very difficult indeed to stop your car on the grass, of course. And so that's exactly what happened, really. There was a colossal accident, a lot of cars involved. I think it did actually affect the leaders in GT4 at the moment. So there's a lot of sorting out to do in that category, and a lot of sorting out to do towards the back end of GT3 as well. But Scully has been putting on the pressure no end early on in this race. He's been absolutely fantastic. Off of the start, he was very, very alert, looking to the outside already into turn 1, and then on the run-up towards the left-hander at turn 5, he was already going for it on Maximilian Volmuth, who's been looking in his mirrors almost constantly so far in this race, as there's a battle in GT4 going on at the moment. Believe that might be, and it is, for the lead of this class, for 28th overall, but nearly 3 wide coming through this right-hander here. High-speed corner heading towards the chicane. It's getting almost too close for comfort between these guys.
Yeah, Ulrich actually leading GT4 at the moment. Charlie Crossland finds himself down in, what is that, 4th position. So Sebastian Handler and Christian Lozanov, as that looks to be careful going into the pit lane, might have sustained some significant damage as we turn our attention back to the GT3 leaders. Igor Ogorodnikov looking to dethrone Yuri Petrichenko, who will not give up that German Cup crown, but without a fight. And you can see how quickly they're getting away from Alexander Polt. So it is Affalterbach versus Weissach at the front of the field, and Alexander Polt doing a very good job, but he's about 1.4 seconds off of the two in front. As you can see there, that looks to be Marcos, I think, in the 100 Porsche that's making his way through the GT4 traffic. There's Javier Rans, and he's got Kiazek just behind. And then you've got Andrews a little bit further adrift, as Petrichenko sizing up a potential move on Ogorodnikov. Now, it's a bit of a different drivetrain layout in both these cars. Rear engine, rear wheel drive, mistake from Ogorodnikov coming through the Michael Schumacher S's, and Petrichenko right on his back bumper, heading through into the next left-hander, and he's going to try and send it round the outside. Does he have the handling in that Porsche to do it? He's going to go for the inside line. If he pulls that manoeuvre off, bit sideways there for Ogorodnikov, but Petrichenko looking to get the run, going down into Advan. The Porsche will have the inside line. As a result of this, Alexander Polt is really closing in on them. Ogorodnikov will have the inside line for the NGK chicane, pulls the Mercedes in front. Petrichenko backs out of it. Alexander Polt is now less than half a second behind this duo, as again Petrichenko just sweeping the Porsche wide to the left to get the momentum carry through the Coca-Cola corner and try and get the run of momentum, and also more importantly the toe on Ogorodnikov going down the main start-finish straight. This is intense, and we're only less than 5 minutes into this 75-minute race.
It's only on lap 2 and these guys already throwing punches at each other going through that chicane there, and it just shows the fact that when you go side by side through these corners, you really do lose a lot of time if you want to be respectful and leave the other driver a lot of space, which of course you do want to do in these races, to make sure that you don't incur any penalties or anything like that, as Jonathan Bentz gets overtaken there by Yu Yang, who just went down the inside of him into turn 1. A very opportunistic but a very good move into 22nd place overall. But this battle for the lead has already been fantastic. As you said, we're not even 5 minutes into this race just yet, but Petrichenko is piling on the pressure to Ogorodnikov, who is having to look in his mirrors quite a lot right now. It's allowing Polt and Scully to get involved in this right now, and Florian Couturier is not too far behind either. 1.8 seconds for him. He's got a battle of his own going on right now, but it looks like we're 4 for the lead as we go through the Schumacher S once again, and Ogorodnikov not having the strongest run through there for the second lap in a row.
No, Scully started P6, now up to P4. Petrichenko piling the pressure on Ogorodnikov, who looks to do his level best to keep that Mercedes AMG non-Evo, we might remind you people at home, and that has a slight disadvantage to its 2020 sibling to the tune of about 50 Newton meters of torque, but still a 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 engine is Marcos Sol. That was pushing the envelope there, going up the inside of Charlie Crossland, and here is Petrichenko once again. Now this is coming out of the final corner. Ogorodnikov gets to run. Now, the Mercedes has a little bit more torque in its back pocket in comparison with the Porsche, but because of the drivetrain layout of that Porsche, rear engine, rear wheel drive, it's a 4 litre flat 6, and he's putting it round the outside of Ogorodnikov and giving no quarter. Ogorodnikov fires it back up the inside through into the Mercedes arena. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a title fight on our hands here, and it's between Petrichenko and Ogorodnikov, and now Petrichenko looking to try and get the inside cut on this particular occasion. Ogorodnikov goes, no you don't, sunshine.
Yes, Kevin Scully got turned around there at the Mercedes arena, and it looked like he was going into the path of traffic, and it's side by side coming out of the Mercedes arena right now going into turn 5. We'll have to try and catch what happened to see who was at fault maybe for that one as well, as we go back to the leaders in GT4. Ulrich has had a fantastic start in this one, getting up from the position he started in, not even on the first 2 rows I don't think he was, but the carnage at turn 1 has really played into his hands, and so he's got a 1.1 second lead. It's actually a little bit more than that at the moment, with a couple of a car in between them at the moment, of Marcos, who's trying to make his way through the traffic after starting right at the back. But this is the battle for second at the moment between Handler and Lozanov in GT4, so exciting battles going on in this category as well, although it has been split up ever so slightly due to that turn 1 accident.
Yeah, Ulrich actually started way down, get this, row 6. Actually on the inside of row 6, so 11th, or actually, yeah, well, actually make that 12th position he started, and he's leading the class after what happened in turn 1. Well, they say that going into turn 1, sometimes you have to watch your P's and Q's, and Ulrich definitely did that in spades. And now Lozanov trying to close on Sebastian Handler. Handler started down in P6 and now up to P2. As again we go to this battle between Ogorodnikov and Petrichenko. Petrichenko goes late on the brakes, cuts to the inside. Has he run wide going into the Haughaken? He has. And Ogorodnikov manages to get that round the outside, but I don't think Petrichenko's going to give that one up easily. Now through the second part of the Mercedes arena, Ogorodnikov will have the opportunity for what is the move, but no, Petrichenko gets the job done, and here comes Alexander Polt, who wants to make it a Weissach 1-2 for Porsche, as Ogorodnikov finally relinquishes first position.
He's held it for quite a while, nearly 10 minutes in this race already, as he got up to speed very, very quickly off of the start of this race. I feel like the Porsche, being a little bit lighter on its feet, maybe wasn't able to get its tyres up to temperature as quickly as maybe the Mercedes, which is, I would suspect anyway, a little bit easier to get heat into. But now that advantage has kind of gone away for Ogorodnikov. He's done a fantastic job of defending and put on a fantastic fight for us, but eventually he's had to relinquish the lead as more GT4 battling goes on down into the first turn. A couple of battling cars through the first corner. It's for the lower parts of the top 10 in this class and towards the back of the order, actually, with Declan Bowler involved. He started dead last in this race, save for the number 100, but he's making up the places now, getting a little bit aggressive in the Mercedes arena, but he looks like he's up into 36th place overall, which is roughly 10th place in the GT4 category.
Yeah, so there's David Keffer closing on Luca Ziga in the 199 Porsche, and then you've got Sam Tzu just behind. Humphrey rounds out the top 7, so there's 3 Audis in the top 7 at the moment. And now Luca Ziga's just gone into the pits with just under 10 minutes completed, so I'm wondering if that is going to be a mandatory stop that he's going to take, or has he suffered damage, is my big point there. And Stefan Karling battling away with Ernesto Cipolla, going down in towards the Haughaken. Carling looking to get up the inside, and looks like Exposito is trying to get through, but Dave Jr. tries to plant the number 10 around the outside of the Audi going into the Haughaken, but no real opportunity there, but then gets closed in on by the likes of Zuger and Erlinger, in the 111 Audi. Now go on board the front splitter cam, coming out of the Mercedes arena, now down through towards Valvoline as they start accelerating through this part of the circuit into the left-hander, and Erlinger gets a little bit later on the brakes, and it looks like Maximilian Volmuth has also decided to pit early in this race. Now drivers, if they're going to do that, it's going to be a case of, are they going to be rolling the dice here, Ewan? Because the track is at optimum. It's 18 degrees Celsius, it's 8:20 in the morning, and there is sunshine forecasted for the next half an hour, and you've got Grasel's also done that, so quite a whole host of cars have also gone in, not just GT3s but also GT4s. I suspect some people have had to come in for damage repairs as well.
Yeah, I suspect there have been a few damage induced pit stops. However, if you want to make it to the end of the race, and I suspect that this kind of distance is not out of the realms of possibility for actually making it. Let's not forget that you have to make one mandatory pit stop in this particular race. A minimum of 1 litre of fuel has to be added to the car. I would suspect that you have to add a little bit more than that to actually make it comfortably, as one Porsche came in going flying off the circuit there, and a crash, I'm afraid, for Declan, not quite a crash, keeps it out of the wall, but a bit of an incident for Declan Bowler, who has been in the wall so far in this race. So have all of the GT4 cars, to be fair. It comes out straight side by side once again into the hairpin down at the bottom of the course. But yeah, I feel like that is strategic. We weren't able to find any damage on either Ziga or Warmuth's cars, so I suspect that is strategic from those guys, and you know, they are rolling the dice a little bit. I think that's safe to say, but you know, it's worth a try. Get themselves out of traffic, and hopefully they'll reap the benefits of that a little bit later on. But it's certainly a bold call from those guys to pit this early.
Well, as the temperature starts to increase on the track, Petrochenko is lapping in the 1:53.8, and he's now extended a gap of well over 2.3 seconds over Igor Ogorodnikov. So at the moment, Petrochenko is just 1.4 seconds off of his qualifying pace. His pole position lap was 1:52.464. So expect maybe that is going to extend. But then Ogorodnikov is coming under fire from the likes of Alexander Polt and Ollie Bull. With now we're going to see a replay here. Now this is what happened earlier on, and now this is Jan-Luca Gantz. Then you've got the 71 as Felix Ruppert. So it's both Renvelten cars. Now just keep your eyes on this. Charlie Crossan's out there, and one of the BMWs just comes hurrying through, and then the Audi and the BMW. Oh. Now that was the Concertina effect, and the 24 gets a little bit of a tap round as well, whilst everyone's trying to recover. So yeah, I think the BMW that came scything its way through on the inside literally started the domino effect, and all of a sudden Robert and Jan-Luca Gantz were at the well, they got the brunt end of the stick there.
Yeah, they took most of the damage there, I suspect, as well, which is a real shame to see, really, because it was a very clean start in GT3. Shame that we can't really say the same for GT4 in this one, as there's more battling going on down into turn one. Also a car coming out of the pit lane right now, but four Audis here separated by... Oh, no, not an Audi, getting caught off guard there. One of the Porsches having to go off of the road onto the grass through the Mercedes arena. It did look like a little bit of a swipe, to be honest with you, there from one of the Audis down there from this helicopter shot. But yeah, we've seen quite a fair amount of contact throughout the first part of this race, and that's some more to add to it. In the background of that shot there, we saw a Porsche and another Audi, I think, going for another spin. So yeah, it's been getting a little bit physical as this race is edging towards 15 minutes. We'll have a look at this incident again.
Yeah, looks like it was Sam Sue that was the one that got, well, there's a little bit of contact there. That was between Kevin Scully, and I think that might have been, didn't really quite catch the number. It definitely looked like there was a 6 at the front of it, but I have seen that Sam Sue's actually dropped down a couple of places as well, as Pavel Dominiak closing on David Keffer. As, oh, now Maximilian Volmuth has just got a drive-through penalty. From well, it's shown up on the timing tower, so I think that race control have been busy at work. Oh, so that was for avoidable contact. So Maximilian Volmuth is the first driver to be effectively pinged by race control, so avoidable contact on that particular occasion. So Maximilian Volmuth will be the first, maybe of several drivers that might have penalties coming their way. A very second-hand looking 310 Porsche for Jonathan Bentz there. He's currently 18th behind Alejandro in the number 44 Audi, and then you've got the likes of Erlinger and Cipolla battling away, and that is for position, as someone's gone very, very wide coming. Now that looks to be a GT4 car that they've just managed to lap. Oh, Kevin Scully's got a drive through too. Here is a replay. Now that is a turnaround for Kevin Scully, and that was the 36 of Alexander Polt actually. And oh, the Fricadelli racing car of Dominiak then comes in, nigh on T-Bone Scully. They come out of the Haughaken, and now it's going to be a scrabble for position. Oh my goodness me. Ouch.
Yeah, big ouch, I'm afraid, for Dominic, and that might be affecting his pace right now, because that was a fairly hefty hit, and Kevin Scully may be affected by that as well, but I don't know if that was the reason for the drive-through coming back onto the circuit, because we did see more contact from him down into turn number 1, didn't we, with another Porsche, so he really has been in the war so far. He's been very aggressive and very exciting to watch as Kevin Scully, but I'm afraid picking himself up a couple of questionable incidents, and he's got a drive-through penalty for his troubles as well. But we're now with the GT4 leaders, because there is a battle for the lead going on between Sebastian Handler and Martin Ulrich just in front of him. Slipstream for the Porsche. It looks like he's going to head to the inside line of the Mercedes. It looks easy as you like, really, with a later move on the brakes. Is Ulrich going to be able to hang it round the outside here and challenge him again towards turn 2? Doesn't really look like it, and Sebastian Handler is able to sweep around the outside through turn 2 to take that place, and he now has the GT4 lead for the moment, with Charlie Crossland on the comeback trail, not too far behind.
Yeah, Christian Lozanov, I just noticed, has pitted in GT4, currently rounds out the top 5, but Couturier being chased down by Malcolm Humphrey in the Team Highlands Racing number 7 Audi. So it's Audi versus Porsche going into the Haughaken. That's very close for comfort for the pair of them. Good awareness there by Humphrey just to back out of it. I think he just knew that if he'd have gone for that move, that could have been a potential slam dunk penalty coming his way. Cipollo's now pitted as they're trying to get past the 8:22. That is Lozanov, who's just exited pit lane. That's a bit of a moment there for Couturier, and that's allowed Humphrey to slip up the inside and get past in the Audi. So change for 6th position. We're now on board with Charlie Crossland in the battle for the lead of this race in GT4. Luca Ziga has tumbled down the order like a stone and is down all the way down in 35th position overall. But Charlie Crossland, now this is coming through towards Advan, so Crossland just over 3/10 behind Ulrich, who started 12th position. Sebastian Handler actually started further down the field as well, from P6. So whilst Handler and Ulrich were keeping their heads cool, everyone else lost theirs, especially with that rambunctious BMW going up the inside into turn 1. But Crossland looking to get past. It was a Porsche that won in GT4 last time, courtesy of Tom Hyer, and at the moment Sebastian Handler has the advantage, so to speak. But Charlie Crossland took pole position, and with the pace and the credence that Charlie Crossland has shown on Assetto Corsa Competizione, he knows what he's doing there, and he's up the inside of Ulrich going into the Haughaken. Now, will Ulrich manage to get one back up on Charlie Crossland? No. Oh! Crossland gets turned around by Ulrich. Charlie Crossland nearly had that in the bag, and I just think it was a case of slight steering input from Ulrich, and it turned Crossland around.
It's hard to tell from that angle, really, whether they met in the middle, whether Ulrich went into Crossland or Crossland came down on Ulrich. We'll have to try and piece that one together for you, but both end up spinning around in the end. Crossland was able to do a 360, get himself back in the right direction slightly quicker, but what it has allowed is Sebastian Handler to get a good lead in that category now. There's some more GT3 cars having to get through these GT4 leaders right now, really. And they're kind of all over the road, really, of the GT4 cars because of the start that they had. There's no real first defined run-through traffic, but there's a lot of cars scattered all over the place, which it means that there's a lot of lappery going on. And Patrick Nagy trying to get through, and I'm afraid straight into the barriers, getting a little bit ambitious, tried to go onto the grass, tried to make a pass on the grass, but I'm afraid he could have looked like a hero. I'm afraid it's all down to 0. He's been in the wall, and that car does look to have fairly severe damage.
Right, we're going to go to a replay now. This is Crossland going up the inside of Ulrich. Very, very clean move. Gave enough room for the Mercedes-Benz. Now going into the Mercedes arena. Yeah. I think the thing was Charlie Crossland was trying to turn in there. It might be considered a racing incident, but to be honest with you, it's dependent on what the stewards do. Patrick Nage, that car needs to be brought into the pit stat, because that had the biggest tank slapper I think I've seen in a long time. As now Exposito battling away with Dominic, and you've got Kafer just up ahead, and that's at one of the fastest corners on the circuit, if not the fastest corner. Dominic keeping it planted ahead of Exposito into the NGK chicane. Luckily enough, from all 3 cars, pretty much doing what they needed to do. Dominiak gets a bit close to Kiefer going into the braking zone, but then he runs wide going through Coca-Cola as they come across to the stripe. 53 minutes and 30 seconds to go. Yuri Petrochenko's lead over Igor Ogorodnikov now stretched to 6.7 seconds as Exposito looks one way, then the other on Dominiak going into the Haughaken. But on this particular occasion, will the Audi get the purchase through into the Mercedes arena? Pavel Dominiak says no on that one, as Patrick Nage, well, no surprise really, Ewan, has decided to pull that very wounded Mercedes into pit lane.
You might think that because we've got this mandatory pit stop in place for the German Cup, that it's not going to be too much of a disadvantage to Nage, but it really is, because he's going to have to repair that damage, let's not forget, and spend time repairing it. So he is going to lose out in this one, I'm afraid, and that is a real shame, because he looks to be very, very aggressive, trying to get through, and that is, of course, very exciting for us to watch. So that is a real shame for the number 42 Mercedes driver, and he's in the pit lane right now, going to see what he can salvage from this race. But it's very interesting to note that Maximilian Vormuth is still the first of those who have made a pit stop in this race. I believe he's just coming over the line right now, actually, but where he is on the circuit doesn't really matter. Where it does matter a little bit later on, when he's, when everyone's made their pit stop, where is he going to come out? Is he going to be right up there with the leaders, or is he going to have tailed off? Has the strategy gamble paid off, or has it really actually hurt him in this race? Because let's not forget, he qualified third in this one. He's clearly got the pace. He's in the Audi, he's in the Porsche, which is shown to be very, very fast around here. So he's got every chance of winning this one almost. It just depends whether the strategy is going to work out or not, because it's the complete opposite to what the race leaders are doing right now.
Oh, Dominiak nearly got a tag slapper going through the NGK chicane, because this trio, Kiefer, Dominiak and Exposito, have been closing on the likes of Kiazek, Ulrich and Rance, that have been battling away over second position in GT4. Backmarker traffic now coming into effect here in the German Cup. We saw this last time out. Oh my goodness me, I think Dominiak must be counting his lucky stars there, because going through that chicane, he was doing a bit of Valtteri Bottas grass cutting. Only we weren't at Spielberg, we were here in the Eifel regions.
Yeah, not ideal really. You don't want to be on the grass wherever you can avoid it. Yeah, that was a good save from everybody really, to keep it out of danger, and keep things nice and clean in the end. It was good driving from everybody to avoid that potential disaster. But Martin Ulrich's not too far in front of this little fight that we're seeing right now, because he is had that spin, let's not forget. But he's only dropped down to third place, I believe. Yes, and he has. Charlie Crossland has been in for his mandatory pit stop. However, he's come out behind a good four cars who have already made their mandatory pit stop. So I just wonder if he had a bit of a longer stop for whatever reason, but he is a little bit further down than what we were expecting. Whether Lozanov and Goltz, etc., can actually make it to the end of the race, I'm not sure about, but if they can indeed, then Crossland is going to have so much overtaking to do by the end of this race.
Yeah, well, I think I noticed that Daniel Andrews, which is the BMW ahead of Charlie Crossland, does still need to pit, and then obviously you've got to consider Handler's got a pit, Javier Rance has got a pit, so it's all swings and roundabouts. But Zuger trying to go very ultra aggressive. Now that's brave and then some, going into the left-hander after the Michael Schumacher S's, and Erlinger gets pounced on by Zuger in the Porsche. So the number 25 up into P14. That was very, very daring in that Porsche. So good job there. Track temperature now has increased. We're close to getting towards 20 degrees Celsius air and track temperature. Sunshine still forecasted for the next 30 minutes. If anyone might remember what happened in the previous German Cup, we had rainfall towards the end of it, and that time it was a 90-minute race. So Erlinger ahead of Zuger ahead of Erlinger, going on to the next lap. But still, Petrochenko is consistently running in the high 1 minute 53s. 153.877 was the 26th lap time last time, and Igor Ogorodnikov is 8.8 seconds adrift. But however, the pit stop can be taken any time, if memory serves me correctly. So there's no pit stop window mandated. So Igor Ogorodnikov could get that car as far through the race as possible and go for pretty much nigh on a splash and dash, maybe get a new set of boots on it and go out there and bring the fight to Petrochenko. That is very much perceivable, isn't it, Ewan?
Yeah, absolutely. He could pit with 1 lap to go if he likes and just put a litre of fuel in, not even bother with the tyres and just go for it. But I can't see that happening really. I can see these guys needing a little bit more fuel than that. But, I don't really think tyres are going to be necessary for these guys in this one, because it's only a 75-minute race. If you think about a normal stint in an endurance race, for example, 65 minutes, it's not too much of a stretch to go to 75, is it really? So, I expect to see most of these guys going for no tyres throughout this race. It also kind of depends when you pit as well. If you're pitting at the end of lap 1 or with 1 lap to go, then obviously it's not worth changing any tyres. But middle of the race, maybe someone will go for it and try to throw things up in the air just a little bit. That's what we're hoping for anyway. But Ogrodnikov has not really been catching the leader, I'm afraid, and he's now 13 seconds down. He's got Polt not too far behind him, and Ollie Bull not too far behind either. So we could be seeing a 3-car battle for second, as we're seeing loads of different battles going on up and down the order. We saw in qualifying how close the midfield was, and now we're seeing that almost personified in the race with so many different cars running absolutely nose to tail. I mean, Dominac and Mullins also battling with this battling pair as well of Alejandro and Nicholas on our screens right now.
Yeah, so 47 minutes and a quarter still to go. Benson, the 310, has just pitted. So Maximilian Volmuth from XL Racing by Renwelten, one of the regulars alongside Felix Ruppert in the Sprint Cup Season 3 quite recently. And now we see the battle for second position really heat up, because you've got Igor Ogrodnikov, Alexander Polt and Ollie Bull. That is Mercedes versus Porsche versus Audi. And that is the battle for second on the road, and the gap between Petrochenko and Ogrodnikov as Alexander Polt just sends it round the outside of the Michael Schumacher S's on Ogrodnikov. That is crazy fast from that Porsche, and now Ollie Bull fancies an opportunity at getting past the number 41. Ogrodnikov is having to go on damage limitation in that Mercedes.
Really struggling through the Michael Schumacher S, especially through the left-hander. He just gets a big slide on, and that car's just way too loose through that high-speed corner. Maybe it's something to do with the fact that there's full fuel in these cars right now, but especially through those high-speed corners, he is struggling, and he's in now. Realises that this is not really where he wants to be. He's just getting his ears boxed at the moment with everybody getting past or will be getting through. Polt and Bull would have been through very quickly indeed. So he gets into the pit lane. Strategic call from him now with 45 minutes to go in terms of this race. So interesting to see that strategy from him now, as we're seeing not such a great run through traffic there from Paul Dominac. Really, you want to be slowing down on the entry to the fast left-right chicane to try and get through, or indeed getting through on the entry and suffering on the exit. You don't really want to be going side by side through there with nobody in your own class, never mind somebody in another class.
Yeah, and Dominic battling away with the USA's Dave Jr., who plants the Mercedes around the outside of the Porsche, going into the Haukhaken, which will give him the run for the next left-hander here in the Mercedes arena. So Dominic and Jr. going toe-to-toe, side by side, through into the next part of the Mercedes arena, which will then put them into the next right-hander. And Dave Jr. has got the run, he's got the job done, has he? Oh no! Was there contact between the pair of them? Dominic, right-hand side, hits the wall. And now I've just seen that Patrick Nage gets a 15-second time penalty from race control.
Has indeed, and it's not a dissimilar incident that we just saw there with Dominic and Mullins, I'm afraid. It was just a bit of a squeeze going on, and a car on the grass, car in the wall as well. A shame to see for those guys, as Felix Ruppert is now trying to make an impression on Keffer just in front. Let's not forget Ruppert's qualifying performance in this one. I think it was inside the top 3 as he's going down the inside, and he hits another Porsche, I'm afraid, in the GT3 category.
Control, and I've just noticed that Igor Ogrodnikov has been in that pit lane for quite a long time. The Russian has dropped down into 16th position, so Maximilian Volmuth in the number 91 now up into 15th place. So is the highest placed of the drivers that have already taken their one and only mandatory pit stop. So here at the German Cup, it's only a 75-minute race encounter with a mandatory pit stop with no fixed pit window like we do see in certain championships such as Sprint Cup Season 3. Dominic has now pitted and drops out to the top 10. So Ogrodnikov down in 20th position ahead of Cipolla. So we still have quite a few drivers all the way up to 13th position, or down to 13th position in GT3. Here's a replay that we're going to see now. Now this is Junior versus Dominiak. So they're going through into the Mercedes arena. Junior's on the inside, Dominiak on the outside. They're then going to go into the next right-hander that will lead them down the straightaway towards Ford Curve. So Junior's got the job done at this particular point, but then swings it towards the outside, and Dominiak just has the slightest of steering correction and catches the right rear of the Mercedes. Junior comes off a bit more lightly than Dominiak, who ends up in the barriers with a slight glance on the right-hand side of that 911.
Yeah, that is very much the case, and I think it was a bit of a case of Dominiak going a little bit towards the line there of Junior, who was, I'm afraid, a bit of an innocent bystander for me in that one. That's just my opinion on that one. But yeah, Dominiak came off worse, I'm afraid, and he's in the pit lane right now, making his mandatory pit stop, which has turned into a bit of a damage repair all at the same time. Obviously not what you want to be doing, really, but you're right, Ogorodnikov has been in that pit lane for a very long time right now, and GT4 cars are starting to pass him, so I'm afraid that is, certainly in terms of a race-winning charge, the end of the road for the Russian, but, you know, he may well still get into this race and continue on, you never know. Let's have a little look at this incident between with Rupert and Grassel, who he eventually ends up hitting. It just looks like a misjudgment of the braking, really. He's just going on the brakes far too late. The Audi weaving to the right hand side was probably a little bit naughty, but I don't think it really mattered in the end. Rupert looks like he was heading straight for the back of that Porsche from the moment he hit the brakes, or didn't hit the brakes in the case of where everyone else was.
Yeah, well, I've just heard, courtesy of a big thank you to Epic Sim Racing, Igor Ogorodnikov is taking no further participation in this race. The car was getting out of control with oversteer, so that's why he's decided to call it a day. A real shame, because we were looking forward to that battle with Petruchenko and Ogorodnikov this evening here at the German Cup live on the sim grid. So now that means that Alexander Polt is in second position, and the highest placed Mercedes is now Dave Jr. down in 9th place, who's about 7 seconds off of the number 32 Audi of Tyler Munnings. There's Guillem Exposito from Spain reigning at the top 7, and it's just under 1.5 seconds off of the other Audi of Käfer. That's David Käfer in the number 17. So Petruchenko has a comfortable lead of 17.9 seconds ahead of Alexander Polt. So as things stand, with just over 40 minutes remaining, Porsche leading both classes. So at the moment in GT4, it's Sebastian Handler in the 538 Cayman, and then Yuri Petruchenko looking to make it 2 for 2. We've got this battle here between Lars Kirschbaum, and also we've got Declan Bowler just up ahead. Raichinov has got a drive-through penalty. That will be more than likely for avoidable contact a bit earlier on, as Sam Siu closing on Bu Iljang in the number 82 Porsche. And Siu has already got his pit stop out of the way. Kirschbaum closing on Bowler. They've got the number 17 Audi just behind them. That is David Käfer, who's gone around the outside of Kirschbaum. So the GT4's trying to keep out of the way, obviously with what we saw with Felix Ruppert a bit earlier on. That was GT4 into GT3. Doesn't quite go, unfortunately, because I noticed that when Ruppert put the brakes on, the front end very much was going a bit snaky front, from side to side at the front of it. So there we go, and here is a battle between, well, it's quite funny, we've got a Mercedes GT4 meet in the middle of a Porsche GT3 sandwich, which won't last very long, courtesy of Sam Siu. And here is Kirschbaum again trying to close in on Bowler, who's just been passed by one of the Porsches going through. That looks to be the number 78, I believe. That'll be Grassel that's had the turnaround courtesy of Felix Ruppert. But Ewan still just under 38 and 3/4 minutes to go. This race is anybody's, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, especially in GT4 at the moment. I know that there's this big gap, 17.5 seconds between Handler and Rance at the moment. However, let's not forget, Gianluca Rance had that incident at the start. He was caught up, one of those caught up in that incident with the BMW down the inside and clattering into everybody. So he's been making his way quietly through the field, away from our cameras. He's now into second place, just got through on Martin Ulrich in the last few laps. And now I really think he's got the pace to actually close down on Sebastian Handler. And with 38 minutes to go, I think he's got the time to do it as well. As Samsu finally getting down the inside. Now, well, that's actually a lap car. Not involved in this battle, but Samsu trying to take advantage. I'm afraid it's gone wrong. Two Porsches spun around at the Dunlop curve. That was opportunistic driving from Samsu, but I'm afraid not quite executed to perfection.
Yeah, Boot Ilajang. Oh, he's just come together with one of the GT4 cars. It's gone from bad to worse for Boot Ilajang. So after that contact with Samsu going through Dunlop, and that was heading into the Michael Schumacher S's. Ouch, is an understatement really right there and then. But we still have drivers circulating. Lars Kirschbaum still closing in on Bowler in the 95 Audi. They've got Dave Jr. just trying to get past as the blue flag waves to say to him, right, faster traffic coming up on your 6 guys, get out of the way. And they've done exactly that. Good idea from both drivers to keep out of the way. But Bowler nearly lost out the position to Kirschbaum in that particular occasion. That was going through Valvoline into Ford before the run down to Dunlop. So Kirschbaum just biding his time. He's just using a bit of patience and consistency to try and keep himself within striking distance.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think he's got the pace to actually get through. Oh, and there we go, straight off the road from Declan Bowler, and Kirschbaum, nearly followed him straight off the road down there at the Dunlop curve, but I was just about to say that he just needs to bide his time, wait for the right opportunity, and then strike when it comes. That's exactly what he's done. And so Kirschbaum is into what will be 34th overall and about 11th place, 12th place maybe in the GT4 category. But lots of fights going on in this class still right now. Felix Rupert, who might still be in a little bit of trouble for that incident we saw not so long ago down into turn number 1. Bit of an Audi going down the inside. Is he going to be able to use that Audi to get through on another Audi down the inside into turn 1? It looks like he will be able to fairly easily actually. Keffer not putting up too much of a fight into turn 1, and Rupert has shown himself to have very good pace around here, both in qualifying and now in the race as well. He is up to 29th overall and about 8th place in GT4.
Yeah, so still all to play for Felix Rupert, keeping his nose clean, staying out of the way of further traffic, which would have been, I think it was Humphrey in the number 7 Audi that just went past like a rocket ship. 35.5 minutes still to go. And at the moment, plenty of drivers in GT3 and also 4 of the top 5 in GT4 that have yet to make their mandatory pit stops. So some are they're playing the long game. They're going deep into the bottom of the ninth, if it was a baseball terminology you wanted to use right there. And that's very true with the likes of Sebastian Handler, very, very well versed on this platform, as is the likes of Cristiano Lozanov. But Lozanov is the highest placed GT4 driver that has made their mandatory pit stop already. I'll go back to another replay here. This is going into the left-hander, so this is going to be what we saw a little bit earlier on, going into Dunlop. So Boot Ilajang runs a little bit wide. The Audi goes towards the right-hand side. You've got Sam Sue just behind there too. This is actually the run down to Dunlop. So what is Sam Sue going to do here? Oh, goes up the inside, and Boot Ilajang, I think, just brought it on himself. He turned in, and I don't think he saw that Sam Sue was there. So Sam Sue was an unwilling participant just by a sheer little clumsy mistake there by Bu Il-jang, who thought that there was no one up the inside, and then all of a sudden Sam Sue gets caught by the GT3 car, and then GT4 car, and then the same fate befalls Bu Il-jang. So yeah, it's one bad turn does not deserve another.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of bad luck going on there for those 3 cars, really, and a couple of unnecessary incidents involved there as well. It sometimes does happen like that, though. You know, one mistake snowballing into another, and that can be the case with contact when you're battling with another car as well. You do tend to get a little bit annoyed with each other as well, and it can come into contact a little bit more easily. But yeah, that was a shame to see, I'm afraid. But Kirsek has just been into the pit lane, by the way, the number 427 car. He's behind Lozanov, and if that number 822 Audi is going to the end of this race on the set of tyres and the tank of fuel that it's on right now, then it's got a fantastic shot at winning the race. I still think that Sebastian Handler is going to come out in the lead of this one, but yeah, Lozanov is showing himself to be very tactically astute and very quick out there as well.
Yeah, so Charlie Crossland trying to claw his way back up the field, and currently he's down in 30th overall, but in terms of GT4 placement, it's currently down in 8th place, having started from pole. So it's been a bit of a... he's had to try and get rid of that salt in the wounds, as Max Erlinger now being closed in on by Alejandro in the number 44 Audi. Now this is for the battle for the top 15, so at the moment Handler, Hans and Ulrich have yet to pit in GT4, whereas it looks like everyone else has done so. So that is 3 of the 17 cars that have managed to eke it out as long as possible, as we're 2 minutes and 20 seconds away from hitting hitting the best part of 45 minutes completed. As Daniel Kiefer keeps out of the way of the GT3 coming through. That is the 78 of Hartwig Gratzel. But still, at the moment, Petrochenko has been an absolute machine. 1 minute 54.6, and has got the gap over Ollie Bull, who now is ahead of Alexander Pohl. The gap now is 25.5 seconds. So I think Petrochenko is going to go very, very long, and what he's going to do is do the splash and dash, not change tyres, and still have enough time to come out in the lead of the race.
Plan, yeah, certainly in this race. It's easier said than done, of course. But yeah, that would be the ideal situation. It's just going to really come down to the very final minutes, really, when everyone's made their final pit stops, and you know, everybody's kind of got what they've got really in terms of tyres and fuel and all of that. They're just going to be fighting it out until they're... Right now, we're still over half an hour to go. We've got plenty of strategies still to play out in this race, but by the end of it, obviously it will all be out of the window. To be fair, not many drivers actually still have to make their pit stops. A surprisingly small amount of cars trying to really run this as long as possible before pitting right at the very end. Only 3 GT4 cars are still yet to make their pit stops, and it doesn't look like they're too far away from making them either. So I'm a little bit surprised about that. Yeah, it seems that nobody really wants to run this as long as possible. Everybody's kind of a little bit concerned about the undercut and what an early pit stop might do for you. So to cover them off, they're coming in about halfway through this race, and that's what we're seeing right now with a couple more cars, especially in GT3 with Bu Zhang also in the pit lane right now.
Oh, Max Erling has just had a massive off going in towards the approach into the Haughaken. Looks like the back end just literally swapped ends under the brakes. So Erling has already come in for 1 pit stop. Ollie Bull has just pitted from 2nd on the road. So this is going to give the opportunity for Petrochenko to literally mash the throttle and just go hell for leather here. Martin Ulrich still rounding out the top 3, and so Sebastian Handler, Javier Hans and Martin Ulrich still not having done their mandatory pit stop so far. So that's going to be rather interesting over the next few moments or so. Reference what's going to happen. So your guess is as good as ours. For those watching at home, who do you think is going to win tonight? We're going to see this repeat. Now this is Alejandro and Erlinger. They're going side by side, so Audi versus Audi down the main straightaway. And Alejandro... Oh, now that was a hip check and a half, and it just sent Erlinger spinning.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a very obvious hip check there, I'm afraid. And it doesn't look too good for Alejandro, really. It looks like he may well get a penalty for that one, because sending the other car spinning right off to the right-hand side as we were looking at it there, and really unprovoked almost as well. I'm not entirely sure if that was intentional at all from Alejandro. Just might have misjudged his dimensions or whatever going down into turn number 1, and kind of misjudging where the road goes and where the Audi beside him was. But yeah, it didn't look too good for the number 100 car, and maybe incurring a penalty for that one, but we're seeing some still fantastic battling going on in GT4 at the moment. Goltz having to defend from Charlie Crossland again, and this has been a famous overtaking opportunity. Round the outside once again through this left-handed foot, gives you the inside for the right-hander, but Goltz was very, very aware of it and was very, very aggressive in his defence of 26th position overall. Charlie Crossland not able to get through right now, and Felix Rupert not too far behind, looking to pick up any pieces that may spill out from this battle going into the chicane.
Yeah, so Charlie Crossland trying to make his comeback, and he's got himself up into what is now 5th position, behind the runner-up last time. As all, that was a brazen move up the inside of Dominic Goltz, courtesy of Felix Rupert. So Rupert now takes on takes that position. That puts him up to 6th place. So Dominic Goltz trying to battle away with Käfer in the 97. Crossland still ahead, but he takes a nice tight line there. Felix Rupert looking, well, that's a GT3 Porsche just up ahead of him as well. So just goes to show that you might be in a GT3 car, but it doesn't always play, it doesn't always pay to your favour, so to speak, because you can find yourself in the middle of a GT4 swarm or GT3 swarm, depending on where you are out on the circuit, and that can really depend on how you battle with your opposition. But Felix Rupert with a very audacious and opportunistic move up the inside of Dominic Goltz to get that position.
Yeah, very opportunistic and very, very good driving from everybody to avoid disaster, which is seemingly almost around the corner at every single corner around this circuit. Though I'm currently watching Martin Ulrich, or we were a second ago. Javier Rance has just got in front of him in the last few moments. Now, he was, well, I was expecting him to be able to catch Sebastian Handler actually in this race, but it doesn't seem that that's actually been the case in this one. The gap's extended out now. It's over 23 seconds when these guys last came over the line. And it was about 18 seconds when Rance finally got into 2nd place after jumping up the field no end in the last few moments in this race. So I was expecting a lot from him, but I'm afraid Handler has been really pulling away here, and he looks like he is in real control of this German Cup race now. He really doesn't need to pit until the fuel requires. Obviously he's going to have to pit at some point in this race. Pitting with a few laps to go, putting in the fuel that is required to make it to the end of the race will do him very nicely in this one. There's absolutely no reason for him to put himself in more danger and pitting himself a little bit earlier on. I expect to see him running out for a good 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe even longer.
Yeah, Marcos in the number 100, who started from stone dead last, now up into P11 overall, yet to make a mandatory pit stop. Dave Jr. also has stayed out for the long haul. The American currently in P5 in the number 10 Mercedes. And then you have got Mullings, Tyler Mullings in the 32 Audi, also has yet to pit. And then you'll also have the likes of David Käfer, Florian Couturier and Malcolm Humphrey, who have yet to pit. So Petrochenko came out 16.6 seconds ahead of Bull. Well, Petrochenko is now the highest placed of the drivers that have now made their mandatory pit stop, so puts him back into the effective lead of this race with just under 25 minutes remaining. Sebastian Handler, also Martin Ulrich in the Porsche and the Mercedes GT4 cars have yet to pit. Looks like there is a drive-through penalty coming through for Chris Zuga as well in the 25, currently rounding out the top 18. Pavel Dominiak ahead of Alejandro. There's Jonathan Bentz from South Africa. He's just behind Bu Il-jang. Just behind them, probably is looking to be another GT3 car there, and that will be the number 91. That is of Maximilian Wolmuth at this particular moment, who currently sits in 8th position, but still with a fraction of the field yet to do their mandatory pit stop. Ewan, we've been talking about this strategy. I think some are just trying to literally push it out as far as they can with regards to waiting until the last opportunity. And we've seen races on the sim grid before decided on the final lap of the race where people are coming for a pit stop and it's all horribly gone wrong. If anyone might remember the 2.4 hours of Imola, at Super Saturday, where we had Tobias Conrad and George Boothby going in the pits on the penultimate lap, and with 30 seconds to go, Nicholas Huben goes through, takes the lead and wins the race. It can happen.
Yeah, it can happen. There are so many examples up and down the years of classic races like that we'll remember for a long time, and so yeah, this could be one of those as well. You just never know until the very final lap. You know, you think with these leaders at the moment, they've got big leads. You know, there's no shying away from that fact at the moment. Sebastian Handler and Petrichenko, when he does indeed cycle back out into the lead, will have a very big one. However, it's never over until it's over. There's always danger around this circuit. You've got to keep your own car on the road for a start, but you don't know what everyone else is going to do. At this point in the race, the GT3 cars are going to be lapping some of the slower GT3s and also the GT4s, which are pretty much all still in the race. There are very few GT4s actually out of this one, very few cars overall actually out of this one, so there's still a lot of traffic to be tripped up by in this race, so it is never over until it's over. Just getting your way through it efficiently enough is really what you need to do. In this one, Jonathan Bentz getting to the outside of Zhang there, and it's a lot of contact between the two of them. Zhang has gone round, I'm afraid, and it's another couple of Porsches getting in the wars. That was a fight for 20th position in GT3, but I'm afraid the two of them have come to blows, and not for the first time in the last 10 minutes. Zhang has gone around again.
Yeah, so also Dominic's got a drive-through penalty as well. So the penalties are coming in thick and fast. So as soon as it happens at this point in the race, it's going to be rather difficult to try and fight your way back out of that kind of situation. We do see that time and time again. Sebastian Handler still leading in GT4, and he's got an absolutely humongous gap at the moment. As I've just seen Petrichenko put in a 54.1. My goodness me, he's on fire at the moment, is that driver. Number 26 Porsche does a fastest first and third sector of this circuit here at the Nurburgring. 5.148 kilometres in total length. As Sebastian Handler just doing all he needs to do. He's hitting every apex. He's not put a foot wrong. He started P6 on this. You know, Charlie Crossland is trying to do his level best and is currently P4 at the moment, but has an absolutely humongous mountain to climb if he wants to catch up with Christian Lozanov, who is the best part of nearly 18 seconds up the road in third position. So can Crossland close that gap? Well, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt him at all, because he's got an opportunity to get the job done. But there is Yuri Petrichenko. Humphrey has yet to pit, Kiefer yet to pit. Neither has Mullings. So there has been some rather interesting contretemps, I think is probably the word I'm going to use, in terms of collisions between vehicles this evening. But there is Adrian Sickert, currently 30th in the overall side of things, but is in what looks to be 9th position, behind Javier Rans, who was towards the sharper end of the field earlier on. But that turn 1 incident on lap 1 for the GT4s literally upset the apple cart, and Sebastian Handler has been the one that has profited most out of all of them. As Felix Ruppert, gets a drive-through penalty for that incident earlier on. So another slam dunk one thrown in there. Server time now 9:03 AM, and the track temperature again, we've got a double waved yellows, and now that is an interesting development. That is Florian Couturier, that is off the track. You can see the GT3 on the left hand side of your screens. He's gone rally crossing.
Miles off. He's absolutely was actually absolutely miles off. He's back onto the circuit now, brings a whole heap of polystyrene back with him as Sickert trying to take advantage of this situation, because Rance was pushed offline there going through the chicane. But a remarkable situation there for Couturier, and he's having to get back going again. It looks like he's been able to without significant damage, but it'd be interesting to see how on earth he ended up so far off the road. Surely through an absolutely flat-out corner in a GT3 car that wasn't on his own. He may well have had help from another car to get so far off the road, but luckily it looks like he's escaped without damage, and he is back going again, but he will have lost a lot of time in that one, possibly a couple of positions as well.
I'm wondering if that's been a moment all of his own making. But the biggest thing is, did you see that Javier Ranz's headlights were being flashed? Because one of the biggest things that I saw there was that the rejoin I don't think was probably right for Couturier to actually do, because he went straight into the path of Javier Ranz, and that nearly gave Adrian Sicart an opportunity to get past for position. So yeah, I wonder if that's going to be looked at, because straight away, if I was Javier Ranz, I would be putting something into race control and saying, well, I'm not very happy about that, because I was battling away and that nearly cost me a position. And he's well within his rights to do so. Alexander Polt's just pitted again. Now that's interesting, because he was running at the sharp end of the grid. Right, we're going to go on to a replay now. This is from, I think this is from Couturier. Now this is with the, now that's Kefa just on the outside. And this is going through the right-hander. And this is heading to, right, just keep your eyes on this for a moment. Now this is going through Advan. Oh, and Alexander Polt spins. Couturier actually narrowly avoids, goes to the left, and the car just won't steer right. So Alexander Polt lost it at the fastest point in the circuit, and that's why he's ended up in the pits, because he's actually pitted for damage, I think.
That's a weird spin as well. You saw going through Advan there, he just seemingly, it almost looked like a tyre blowout or something strange like you might see, but yeah, it was very, very weird going through the right-hander, and then Couturier flying off in the opposite direction, trying to actually avoid the accident, made one of his own on the left-hand side, and he did actually make contact with the Armco barrier on the left-hand side. This is Couturier's rejoin back onto the circuit, and not great, it has to be said. It wasn't a great rejoin whatsoever, and I think Javier Ranz has absolutely every right to flash his headlights like a firework display at the moment, because that wasn't a very smart rejoin from Florian Couturier, and you can understand this frustration at going off the road in those particular circumstances that you saw there, but you know, Ranz has every right to the road as well, and that was not the best rejoin in my opinion.
Yeah, that was yeah, I think that was definitely a case of, I knew it was going to be that close. I didn't realise how close it actually was until a big thank you as always to Mike Yeo, our broadcast director, for bringing us the pictures here tonight, as Yuri Petrichenko now gets past the number 32 of Tyler Mullings. So Mullings, I would imagine, is going to be in the pit lane very, very shortly. And the way things are going, that Kefa is very much the case that Petrichenko's just got to keep things neat and tidy. Looks like that's Dominiak just up ahead in 16th position, so we'll put another lap on the Porsche. You see that there are drivers trying to keep ahead in front as well. I think one of them looks to be an Audi, possibly of, well, not Alejandro, maybe of somebody else, as Dominiak quickly gets out of the way of Petrichenko. He just knows that his quarrel is not with the number 26, which now makes its way through into the Michael Schumacher S's, nice and clean and tidy. And yeah, it's been pretty much a dominant performance once again for Yuri Petrichenko. But Igor Ogorodnikov gave him a fright earlier on, took the initial lead on lap 1. Then everything just went wrong for the Russian, and you know, through a chronic case of severe oversteer, Ogorodnikov had to park it, and it denied us of what could have been a really, really good battle. But you know, Petrichenko's well on his way to taking a second German Cup title.
Yeah, I don't think Ogorodnikov really nailed the setup in this one. A massive oversteer, as you mentioned there, especially in high-speed corners, as Volmuk gets down the inside of Ollie Bull there, which is going to be for second place, I believe, in this race when this all shakes out, depending on where the three who haven't stopped yet actually do cycle back into the order here. But yeah, 5th place overall right now, and this is a good fight between Volmuk and Bull. I think we're going to see the fight go on right to the end here with just under 15 minutes to go. Around the outside tries to go Ollie Bull, but you're not going to make it around there. Try and get the cutback, maybe a run into the final corner will be good enough, but Volmuk defends, and it looks like they're going to head on to the front straight, absolutely side by side, and battle it out between themselves into turn 1.
Yeah, Alexander Polt does not need to stick his nose into this battle, because that is a battle for position. Polt is a lap behind, but if he's the faster car, he has shown pace, but obviously with what happened earlier on, he had to pit. And there goes Walmuth up the inside of Bull, going through the Haughaken. So now it is a Porsche 1-2. Last time out, it was a Porsche, Mercedes and a Porsche on the podium. Looks rather different in this kind of side of things, because now it's a Porsche, an Audi and a Porsche looking to be in the top 3. But there is one Porsche that is looking to move forward and get away from the rest of the field. Petrochenko now 14.2 seconds behind Humphrey in the number 7 Audi. So first, third and fourth have yet to pit in GT3, and Martin Ulrich is the only driver yet in GT4 to pit, which could effectively, so when the Mercedes comes into the pits, Christian Lozanov will be in the race lead with probably a shade just over 10 minutes to go, and Sebastian Handler is not that far behind. He's probably to the tune of about 2.3 seconds behind the Audi. So Porsche looking to defend its honour and pride and glory here at the Nurburgring. 12 minutes and 42 seconds on the clock. Still to go. Maximilian Volmuth has got past Ollie Bull for what is effectively de facto second place on the road. Yuri Petrochenko is opening up the taps on the 4-litre flat 6 boxer engine in the number 26 Porsche 911. That gap has come down. He's absolutely scything through it, which means that Humphrey and that Audi will have to pit, and pit soon. The gap now down to 13 seconds, and Petrochenko last time around, Ewan, took a whopping 1.3 seconds out of the race leader.
Yeah, it's almost inevitable at this point, really. He's shown how pacey he is, and he's just kind of showing it off to us right now. Doesn't really need to, just needs to consolidate the advantage that he's got, but he is pushing the pace on anyway. Still plenty of battles going on further down, and what a great fight it's been in GT4 so far. Lozanov has pulled the strategy of dreams off here, but Sebastian Handler is only 2.6 seconds behind him as things stand, so I absolutely cannot wait to find out how that battle is going to end. I'm afraid it's not going to end with Martin Ulrich victory in this one, because he still has to make a pit stop by the end of this race. Plenty of battles still going on a little bit further down as well. There's Dominic, off the road just in front of Sikot at the moment. We just saw they're getting back onto it as well. Couldn't see which Audi that was, but scary moments all around at the moment, especially for these GT4 cars. The speed at which these top class cars are actually going past them right now is quite frankly quite scary. It's that we've seen them get caught up in incidents before. Hopefully no more of them. You never know. You've always got to keep aware at this stage in the race, and at all stages of the race, in fact.
Yeah, that was the number 17, actually, of David Keffer, who's currently in third place. As there's Ollie Bull being chased down by the likes of Alexander Polt. There's Max Erlinger in the number 111, who effectively is now going to be battling away for, 12th position, because Patrick Nage will have a 15-second post-race penalty. Now I've seen something interesting. Sebastian Handler has got a 5-second time penalty that has just appeared on his the right-hand side of the timing tower. So that now means that Sebastian Handler has got to get his car more than 5 seconds ahead of Christian Lozanov. So he's got to get the move, he's got to chase down Lozanov, he's got to get past him, and then try and get that advantage. But looking at the lap times between the two of them, Ewan, I think Lozanov is on course for possibly winning this, and it could mean that Ingolstadt strikes back in GT4 here at the German Cup.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right in this one. I think without that penalty, we'd see an absolutely titanic fight between Lozanov and Handler in this race. The way that gap's coming down right now, I think he's going to get to him by the end of this race, and I think we are going to see a side-by-side fight between them, but Lozanov can just wave him on by, really, and let Handler win almost, as long as he stays within 5 seconds of him, and I think there's absolutely every chance that he will do in this one. So I'm afraid that penalty has spoiled us a little bit in terms of the fight that we're actually going to see here, or what we would have seen rather, in this race. We're not quite going to get what we were hoping for in GT4, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Porsche look like they're going to take another victory in GT3 in the German Cup, but it doesn't look like they're quite going to have it all their own way, in GT4 in this one. It's good to see a different manufacturer getting up there, especially in GT4, considering we saw such domination in qualifying by the Porsches. For sure, that Turn 1 incident for everybody will have helped the other marques get in there, but BMW have been absolutely nowhere in neither class here today, and it's still a fantastic job from Lozanov to get up there in the Audi, and looking on course, looking very good right now to actually take a race win.
Yeah, just seen the lap times between Handler and Lozanov was actually half a second slower, but the gap now really needs to be decimated. Sebastian Handler will know that he's got that 5-second time penalty, and on this particular occasion it's going to be a case of he's got to really wind up the wick on that car with 8 minutes and 13 seconds still to go. I think it's all said and it's all fallen by the wayside for Sebastian Handler. Started P6. If he gets the runner-up spot, despite the 5-second penalty, I know for a fact he won't be happy that that race victory will have escaped him. But Christian Lozanov absolutely did the textbook school of strategy in that 822 Audi. But at the moment, Humphrey is being closed in on a 156 for the number 7 Audi. Yuri Petrichenko, 153.712. He's absolutely obliterating the lap times. Oh, Tyler Munnings in the barriers. Oh. So those tyres are falling off the cliff. And oh, there's more drama. That's Sam Sew going off the track and right across the path of the number 32 Audi. Oh, it's all going Pete Tong. It's gone south rather quickly. Oh, my goodness. I think Mullings was very lucky there that Sam Sew didn't actually take him out right there and then, but Sam Sew, I think, has done the return to garage there. He's hit the escape button, so the 55 Porsche's race is well and truly over. And I would say that Mullings really should pit, but decides to hang it out for another lap.
Yeah, probably should pit at this point in the race, but yeah, what drama we've seen today, really, in all of the classes. In this race, there's been a lot of incidents and accidents up and down the field, and it has spread out the field in some places, closed it up in others, but yeah, it hasn't been lacking drama this race, that is for certain. In this one, thoroughly enjoyable, with just over 6.5 minutes, still just under now, 6.5 minutes still to go in this race, but yeah, it's been drama filled from start to finish, and it's not really ending right now. Coming out of the Schumacher rest there, one incident for Mullings on his own, and then a couple of cars having to avoid, Sam Sew having to avoid him, had to come across into the path of one of the GT4 cars, and that's what I mean by the fact that this race is not over until it's over. The race leader could be caught up in one of these accidents, and you just never know what's going to happen. Here's another look at that incident, and I feel like a little bit more awareness from both Sam Sew and the GT4 driver he was alongside may have gone a little bit more welcome, but I'll take another look at this and literally have a look coming up towards that corner right now. It does look like Sam Sew has come across on the Mercedes there. To be fair, he did have a little bit of space to play with, and he actually got hit again. I didn't quite realise a third car involved, or fourth car that would be involved in this one, but yeah, I think a little bit more awareness from Sam Sew, and that could have been avoided.
And as a result of that, he has promptly DNF'd. Damage, basically terminal on that Porsche. Attack, hard hit on the front. I think that was Goldschmidt actually just sideswiped going through after the Schumacher S's. So yeah, and then a hit from behind, a hard hit from behind. I must be completely honest there, Ewan. So yeah, Sam Sew was running up in the top 15. Not anymore. He's out of the race.
Yeah, that's a real shame. It's always good to see these guys get to the end of these kind of races, and I'm afraid Sam Sew's not going to be able to do that, and he's going to drop down the order in the last 5 minutes or so. But we still have plenty of battles going on. Grassel and Zuga currently battling over the line once more to complete another lap, and these guys both made their mandatory pit stops as well, just battling for the final spot inside of the top 15. It's an old Porsche battle as well. We've got a lot of Porsches, let's not forget, in this field right now, but quite a lot of them have clumped themselves between 14th and 18th. That's 5 of them in a row, and another couple not too far behind that. So yeah, they're all kind of in a battle between themselves, but I'm afraid it's not really for the upper positions in this one. We have got a Porsche leading, but other than that, they've had a little bit of a disappointing display in GT3, especially considering what they managed last time out in the German Cup.
Yes, indeed. To be completely honest with you, I was not at all surprised at the pace that this driver is currently setting with 4 minutes to go on the clock. Yuri Petrichenko knows this circuit like the back of his hand, and you've got Humphrey in the number 7 Audi still stretching it out as long as he dare, but the gap now down to about around about just under 4 seconds still to go. We're on board with Marcos in the 100, going through into the left-hander. Good run from the Mercedes, who actually got disqualified for going out in the GT4 section of qualifying. That was definitely a slap on the wrist that Marcos did not need whatsoever, but still to get up to 19th place and actually just kept that car fairly clean throughout the race itself, as there is the 310 of Benz from South Africa. There's Felix Ruppert, which Marcos just gets past through rather quickly, going through into the Schumacher S's, but with 180 seconds still to go, Yura Petrichenko looks to have now taken the lead, because Malcolm Humphrey, I believe, is definitely confirmed in the pits right now, and that will put and also looks like Mullings is in the pits, so Maximilian Volmuth and Ollie Bull will become your top three rather quickly. And there it is, confirmed on the timing tower. Humphrey in the pits from second on the road, and now Yura Petrichenko has this plus an additional lap still remaining before he will become a two-time German Cup champion.
Yeah, absolutely, and he will definitely want to add that to his list of achievements, certainly. But I was starting to wonder when those guys were going to pit, because they were going out for an extremely long time, but it looks like Humphrey especially has made this one work, the long kind of run in this one. Not many people have tried it. Nobody did in GT4, really. The final man to pit was Martin Ulrich, and he still did it with about 15 minutes to go. Probably could have gone a little bit longer if he wanted to. But in GT3, we did see a few of them roll the dice and go for this one in that strategy. And it looks like for Humphrey, that has paid off absolutely fantastically. Waiting for a gap between himself and Petrichenko. It's not enough now for the number 7 car to actually try and win this one, but it is certainly, and it's 34 seconds, that is a big margin. It just shows the kind of domination that Petrichenko has showed upon the rest of the field here today. But he's got 7 seconds over Vormuth, and that's a fantastic drive from Humphrey, who, quite frankly, we haven't really mentioned that much here today. He's been keeping himself out of trouble, didn't make a real show of himself, a spectacle of himself in qualifying or the race, and I guess that's the way to do it. If we're mentioning you loads of times, it means that you're in a lot of battles, you're in maybe incidents as well, and that's just not good for your race time, really. You're trying to get that down as much as possible. That's exactly what Humphrey has been doing. It may have been, you could say, even a boring race, being knocked battling with all of these guys, but it certainly yielded him a fantastic result with second place right now.
Having started in P10 as well, of all places, the outside of the 5th row, so hats off to him, chapeau as they say. But the timer is fast ticking away, and Yura Petrichenko is on the 39th and final lap of this race, which will see a total of just over 200.7 kilometres of this circuit completed. But it has been masterful. Dominant in qualifying, taking pole position by nigh on 4.5 tenths of a second. Igor Ogorodnikov falling by the wayside after the mandatory pit stop. Maximilian Volmuth would have been in the fight, but Malcolm Humphrey has put himself there. The timer counts down. 3, 2, 1. That is it. Final lap. And Maximilian Volmuth will be happy with the 3rd place finish. Will have liked to have gotten into the top 2. But Yura Petrichenko has not put a single solitary foot, be it left or right, wrong tonight. And through the NGK chicane, did it once with a Porsche in the 26. But now, round the final corner, Germany's Yura Petrichenko ist noch jetzt zweimal ein deutsches Pokalmeister hier an der Nurburgring. Congratulations, Yura Petrichenko, German Cup champion in GT3, 2 on the bounce. But the tide has changed in GT4. Christian Lozanov started in P4 earlier on when we went green 75 minutes ago, alongside Felix Ruppert. But Lozanov also has kept himself out of trouble. No longer does the GT4 title here at the German Cup stay with Porsche. It heads over to Ingolstadt as Christian Lozanov wins for Audi The Four Rings takes the victory in GT4, rounding out the podiums in both respective GT3 and GT4. So Yura Petrichenko does it again in GT3 with the Porsche. Malcolm Humphrey from 10th on the grid finishes in the runner-up position. So an Audi replaces a Mercedes-Benz on the second step of the rostrum, with Excel Racing by Han Velten's Maximilian Volmuth rounding out the top three. Christian Lozanov takes GT4 honours for Audi. Sebastian Handler, close but not close enough, will still take second in GT4, ahead of Charlie Crossan by about 6.3 seconds. But there you go, that is it, done and dusted, and still GT3s and GT4s battling away. But Ewan, the German Cup delivers once again, and we have a two-time German Cup champion, and now we have the person that was the runner-up last time now hits the top step.
Absolutely, it's great to see returning drivers continuing to do well, really, in the German Cup. So delighted about that one. Petrichenko is going to be delighted with his drive as well today. Really, really fantastic. Didn't look in danger, really. Ogorodnikov did put up a good fight with him for the first 10 minutes of the race, but I'm afraid his car setup was not quite up to it, and the Mercedes couldn't keep anywhere near with the pace of the Porsche, which does seem very, very strong around here at the Nurburgring. So it's going to take something very, very special for somebody from a different manufacturer to knock them off of the top spot at the Nurburgring. But yeah, it was a very good race indeed, and good to see a different manufacturer winning this time in GT4. Very happy for Lozanov, who's managed to take the victory in that one, holding off Sebastian Handler in the end. Unfortunately, we were robbed of a little bit of a fight because of that 5-second penalty, but it looked like the Bulgarian had the edge anyway.
Yes, indeed. So you can see on your screen. So we're hopefully going to be waiting to see if we might get a couple of drivers here in the interview booth here on the sim grid. But a big thank you to you all for watching tonight's festivities. Well, funny enough, let's bring in our runner-up for GT4. Let's bring in Blue Cake Racing's Sebastian Handler, shall we? So let's see if we can bring him in right now. So, Sebastian Handler, runner-up in GT4. Sebastian, started P6, managed to get yourself to the lead before the pit stop, but a real shame that we got deprived of a potential battle between yourself and Christian Lozanov for the GT4 victory.
Well, good evening. Yeah, couldn't have said it any better myself. Really unfortunate. I was looking forward to getting that birthday victory, but it wasn't meant to be.
But still, nevertheless, starting from P6, I think we saw that Martin Ulrich, who you were also battling with, he started down 6 positions further away from yourself, and obviously that incident into turn 1 was a bit of an eye-opener, I think, for a lot of people, but you kept your nose clean, you kept out of trouble, and you kept that car as far away from the rest of the opposition. But still, to have second place after an intense 75-minute race here at the Nurburgring, you must still be pretty happy.
I'm really happy. The competitors made sure to give me loads of birthday presents, especially in turn 1. So I appreciate that. Thanks, everyone. Was good fun. Unfortunately, I did not have the. I had no idea where everyone else was. I guess everybody else pitted a good bit earlier. Did any of them take tires? I'm curious. Yeah, I had no idea what the others were up to. I was just doing my own thing, kinda. And unfortunately, I came out just behind the Audi. Yeah, shame about the 5 seconds as well. Nonetheless, a great race, and yeah, a good race. Good race for a birthday. I'll take it.
Well, many happy returns. Have you? Well, now that you mentioned the word birthday, have you had cake today, my friend?
I absolutely had cake today.
Good man, good man. That's what we like to hear. So, Sebastian, hopefully we'll see you back if when the German Cup returns here at the Nurburgring, and maybe we might see you hit the top step.
30 times the charms.
Indeed, indeed. So a big thank you there to Sebastian Handler. We might just give it a couple more minutes and just wait to see if we I'm hoping we might be able to hear from our race winners, maybe in GT4 or GT3. But Ewan, the strategy was really thrown out of the window by a lot of competitors going towards the end of the race, wasn't it?
Yeah, a few people going right towards the end of the race. I have to say I was expecting a few more to try and run it as long as those three, notably Humphreys in GT3 did, but yeah, it was in GT4 nobody really did it, which is a little bit of a surprise. A lot of people going on the early strategy. In the end, Lozanov was one of those, and it turned out pretty well for him in the end, didn't it? So yeah, maybe next time some more guys will be trying the alternate strategy. Oh, well, I don't even know if I can call it the alternate strategy, really. Just the early pit stop strategy in this one, because it doesn't seem to me, and this is the great thing about this format with 75 minutes, it doesn't seem to me that there is a right or wrong way to go about this, really. You know, you can go about it in multiple ways, but none of them seem to be especially dominant. I think personally today Petrochenko's just pace has won in that race. I think he could have done pitting early or late in terms of the strategy or in the middle, and I think he would have won it. But you know, in GT4 any other strategies could have really won it, because Handler and Lozanov were both on the different ends of the spectrum in terms of actually in their pit stops. So yeah, I think it's a great format because so many different strategies that can actually win it. It's not obvious what you should go for.
Exactly. Well, Ewan, thank you very much for joining me. Last minute substitution for Andy McEwan this evening, but Ewan, thank you very much, mate. Good to have you with me this evening here at the German Cup. So really, just to sort of close things off a little bit, don't forget you can get your 3-month additional free affiliate deal through ExpressVPN. So head to expressvpn.com/the SimGrid. So if you sign up for 12 months, you get 3 free. Also, a big thank you to our partners at Coach Dave Academy, where you can get your setups for Assetto Corsa Competizione, your track maps, and also get tuition from professional GT3 racers such as Dave Perel, Jordan Pepper and Nick Foster. And also, if you want to get yourself some really good sim racing gear, head over to our friends over at Thrustmaster, and you can see also quite a lot of championships going on and also daily racing on the SimGrid. So you can head to thesimgrid.com. There you see the page for Coach Dave Academy, so you can improve your aspects on qualifying, your race pace, and also you can head to thrustmaster.com for whatever peripherals you need. So that is it. Das ist alles für heute Nacht hier bei dem German Cup bei the SimGrid. So on behalf of Ewan O'Leary and Alex Goldschmidt, thank you very much for watching. Danke sehr und wir sehen uns wieder. We'll see you next time.